Before Chris Foss, space was a boring place. On the covers of novels from the 50s and 60s, spaceships were silver rockets, sleek, symmetrical, and frankly, unrealistic from an industrial perspective. Then came 1970, and with it, a young British artist who decided that the future shouldn't just be big, but should be painted like a cargo truck or a warship. Welcome! Today we dissect together the anatomy of one of the many wonderful works of Chris Foss. We are going to understand how his airbrush textures, his obsession with gigantism, and his use of industrial patterns shook the way spaceships and space structures were represented in science fiction. Get ready for a journey at a scale where the human being is barely a dot on the radar. To appreciate this work, one must understand the origin of Foss's gaze. While other artists looked at the stars, Foss looked at the shipyards of Guernsey and post-war construction machinery in England. He brought the aesthetic of heavy engineering to the stars. In this piece, observe that the technology is not magical, it is mechanical. Foss was one of the artists to suggest that a kilometer-long spaceship is not built in a clean laboratory, but in a dirty shipyard. He introduced the concept of the used future long before George Lucas. His ships have oil stains, protruding metal plates, visible welds, and, most importantly, warning patterns. Those yellow and black stripes we see here are not decorative, they are functional, inspired by real-world heavy machinery. This is the birth of industrial realism in science fiction. Let's get into technical anatomy. Foss's composition is based on one principle: gigantism. In this work, the ship occupies almost the entire canvas. Notice how the back of the structure slightly bleeds out of the frame. Observe the use of greebles, small superficial mechanical details. Foss draws pipes and reliefs that, through their density, tell our eye this is too big to understand at a single glance. He adds small human figures to emphasize that sense of massiveness of the structure. It is a visual saturation technique that cheats the sense of proportion. Let's talk about a tool that defined an era, the airbrush. Before Photoshop, the airbrush was the only way to achieve perfect gradients. In this piece, the light is not direct, it is ambient. Foss manages to make the metal appear to have volume through extremely subtle color transitions, ranging from a deep orange in the shadows to a yellowish white in the brightest areas. But the most radical thing is his palette. Why is a spaceship bright yellow or zebra-striped? Foss hated NASA's boring realism. He wanted his ships to scream. Foss masterfully manages to separate the ship from the background by playing with tones and textures without straying from the warm color palette where yellows and oranges predominate. He creates a figure-ground contrast so powerful that the image remains etched in the retina. It is the use of color as a marketing tool for book covers of the time, but elevated to the category of fine art. In the anatomy of this work, the ship is not a vehicle, it is the protagonist. If we look at the details, we see areas of wear, panels of different tones suggesting quick repairs. This tells us a story. This ship has traveled light years, has gone through battles or solar storms, and has been remodeled. This visual narrative directly influenced Ridley Scott for Alien. Although Foss's designs didn't make it into the film, his sketches showcased his ability to make technology look tired. In this painting, we feel crew presence in the maintenance of the machine. Foss's anatomy is an anatomy of function over form. Every antenna, every navigation light, and every pressure plate has a logical weight. It is not gratuitous fantasy. It is imaginary engineering. We could not finish this analysis without talking about the shockwave his pieces generated. When you look at the ship designs in the video game Homeworld, you are looking at Chris Foss. When you see the colorful ships of Guardians of the Galaxy, you are seeing Foss's DNA. He broke the barrier of what was considered serious in science fiction. This work we analyze today is the manifesto of a man who believed the future would be noisy, heavy, and vibrant. Stolenhag, whom we analyzed in the previous episode, gave us the melancholy of the past. Chris Foss gave us the unbridled ambition of the industrial future. Chris Foss taught us that to paint space, one must first understand the earth, metal, and hard work. His artistic anatomy is not based on delicate beauty, but on the brute force of design. If you have been fascinated by this journey through Foss's galactic shipyards, don't forget to give it a massive like and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, do you prefer the dirty realism of Foss or the clean elegance of ships like Star Trek or 2001: A Space Odyssey? Your opinion helps the algorithm keep us in orbit. And remember, scale is just a matter of perspective. See you in the next analysis.